slow, YouTube? What the piss? Why are you going slow? Why are you going slow? Why are you going slow? You're driving a Corvette and you're going 55 in an 80 mile per hour zone. Wow. I am thoroughly impressed. I am thoroughly impressed. Oh, of course it's an old man. Yeah. It's wow. But the impressiveness of some people, I figured y'all might want to see this. But that's not what this video is about. But what I want to say is I want to break it down to the age. Both men. See, the women are relatively simple when breaking down their ages. The men are not. Men aren't. And that's because of value. Now, I want to break down this video that I had put up a long time ago called The Different Ages. And it's going to break down the different phases and what they learn in each phase, both men and women. Let's start with women because they're more simple. From birth, both men and women, or just from conception, both men and boys and girls are both adored. Kind of equally, but not quite. Sort of equally, but not quite. Girls are adored more. Because of societal standards. Girls are still more valuable. Henceforth, why these feminists have repeatedly called boys abortions. Now, age 1 through 5, girls are beginning to understand that because they are a girl, they can get slightly more. They begin to learn that they can get more just by being a girl. About 6 to 10, they begin to grow taller. They begin to grow. Both boys and girls. Girls end up slightly taller than the boys at an earlier age. Boys were at one point taught to roughhouse. We're learning how to fight, learning how to do things as a man. While girls were learning, well, not even how to cook. Boys are beginning to learn, fathers are beginning to teach their sons how to cook, how to maintain their own household. This is around my generation. My dad, my mom taught me how to cook. Taught me and my sister how to work on cars. I took to it more than she did. I wasn't afraid to get under the car to change the oil. With that being said, don't even bother try asking my sister if she needs her tire changed. She already knows how to do that. Crazy. Now, the next thing I want to say, if they were shown impartialness, or if they weren't shown impartialness, typically they weren't shown impartialness. They don't have to. They begin to learn because they're a woman. Many of them do not have to take responsibility for their actions or the men that they choose. That usually happens around about 11 on up, but we're going to go with the 11 to 16 range. They are learning that they should go for the high value men, the men who, your jocks, your sports players, and basically leave the nerds because they have no value, no aesthetic value whatsoever. But the jocks, the football players, the basketball players, sports players, they have all the aesthetic value, especially if they're good at their sport. They not only have value in aesthetic value, but they have potential value later on. So she's going to lay with the jocks, and if not, get passed around the football team underneath the bleachers during the homecoming, after the homecoming game. Now, typically, the nerds typically don't get any play. Then comes adulthood, 18 to 25 to 28. Actually, 18 to 28. Some of her best years, which would be 18 to 25. Well, we call those the best years. She has literally, if she's in college, whether she's in or out of college, typically she's usually passed around the neighborhood, has been on trips around the world, and if they haven't, they are literally shacking up with the local worthless scumbag because they have aesthetic value, and some of them may get passed around by the sports players. Why? Because they have aesthetic value and money, which aka the 10% of men. CEOs, sports players, coaches, business owners, they are pretty much the 10% of men. Now, what they end up getting mad about is the fact that the sports players don't want to shack up with them because they have options, which leaves the 80% of men pretty much SOL until the magical age of 26 to 30 something and up. To 30s and up. Now, at that age, the nerd, the rest of the 80%, which consists of nerds, educated lames, yada yada, truck drivers, people who have basically went out and made a living for themselves, didn't go to college, went to a trade school, and all this wonderful happy horse crap. They come crawling back to us. Now, the reason they come crawling back to us is because they've been ran through by the majority of the high value men. Because they have options. options, the ability to pick and choose what you want this particular day, week, month, and or year. In many cases, minutes to seconds. So they settle down with a beta male provider, beta cuck, whatever you want to call them, simp, whatever. They pop out a couple kids, have a divorce or two. About one or two divorces. And basically turn out miserable divorcees. Some of them get married 3 times. Yeah, some of them get married 3 times and live out the rest of their days collecting alimony, child support, and or somebody's retirement. Yeah. Now let's go over to the gentleman's side. This is a 3-tiered section. There's 10 out of 100%, there's 80 out of 100%, and then there's the lower 50 out of 100%. And then there's the lower 25 out of the 100%. We're going to start out with the 10% of men. The 10% of men will have options on who they want to sleep with because they are either aesthetically pleasing to the eyes, or they're Chads, Tyrones, this, that, and the other, the local killer, whatever the heck it is, the pipe hitter, whatever. They either have money, looks, or an attitude that turns women on. They're going to get a lot of play in a short amount of time. Actually, a lot of play in a large amount of time. They're your CEOs, your businessmen, your this, that, and the other. There are a lot of things. When it comes to relationships. Then there's the 80% of men. They're not going to get, many of them are not going to get play, which includes the lower 25% and the lower 50 to 25% and down. But the 80%, they're going to get the least play. They're going to basically the people that went to a trade school, got their lives together by themselves, understand that it began to give up on relationships. The ones that took the red pill and said the heck with it, I'm just gonna be freaking this way, or go MGTOW as the traditional sense of going your own way, minding your own business. Some of them even end up on YouTube to get, well, I'm not even going to go into that. And then we have the 50 to 25%. The ones that breathe through their mouths as a kid. Because their sinuses were shacked up. Those men are pretty much, many of them are doomed to not pass on their genetics or to be raising somebody else's illegitimate seed. But let's go to the stages of men. Upon birth, they are upon conception to 4 years old. They are actually to about 3 years old. If they manage to survive the pre-birth years, they are adored. Sometimes, not all of the time. Sometimes their own mothers don't even want them. Hence the Facebook post of I got an ugly baby from age 4 to age 5 to 10, they should already know. I mean, many of them in my generation already knew how to fight. They've been in our first fights. And we're probably told not to hit a lady. Now, here's where it begins to get complicated. You've got you already know, explain the upper 20% of men and lower 25. They begin to understand in elementary school, if the school manages to celebrate Valentine's Day, if they have that, especially in summertime, when they have not yet had their first kiss. Yeah. Or not included in many of the games, and basically sent home a destroyed mess for the first few times, and then they become desensitized to being destroyed. Then we have 11 to 16, and they realize that if they're not, they realize whether or not they have it in them to be a sports player, or do they have the intelligence. And they really, in middle and high school, they really know where they stand on the social hierarchy. They really know where they stand on the social hierarchy. Some of them, these are where your incels come in. Start off. And many of them realize that in elementary school, but don't quite understand it yet. Around the age of 18, especially if MGTOW goes mainstream, MGTOW and Red Pill go mainstream, and the other philosophies like it, they pretty much understand that things are not as they seem. You're operating on a pamphlet that was outdated centuries ago. In fact, maybe even eons. Who knows? And then they begin to accept, if they've managed to survive childhood, their adolescent years, and their teenage years, it's not a guarantee that they're going to survive to be to this point. Many of them are going to yeet themselves off of the face of the earth before they reach 30. Before they have a chance to build themselves. That's if we're going in a best case scenario here. We're not including the people who have been to jail, decided that, who basically didn't take the initiative to better their lives, to make the rest of their lives easy. And then from 30 to 40, they should have it all down pat. Now, if there's 20%, they're the upper freaking 20%, well, they've already told through all by now, by this age, all of the women in the age group at least once. If they're the 80%, many of them are going to be cucks, are going to be beta male providers. And in many cases, many of them are going to take care of somebody else's illegitimate seed that came from somebody else's loins. Now, the next thing I'm going to say, the ones that went celibate, went monk, they pretty much understand that they're not getting the cream of the crop. They're getting complete and utter trash. If they haven't realized it in high school. Yeah, you can be an incel and be 60 years old. Be an incel till death. At that point, you might as well be a pastor or a pope. Might as well put your hat in for pope. Especially if you're a virgin. Now, the thing I want to say is, it's what it is. The thing I want to say is, a lot of men are going to die childless and single. A lot of men are going to die childless and single. There's no escaping that reality. A lot of men do not make it past conception because they are automatically labeled as an abortion. A lot of men yeet themselves off of the face of the earth before the age of 25. A lot of men have yeeted themselves off the face of the earth before 50, before the retirement can kick in. And a lot of men decide that enough's enough, there's no point in trying. Believe me, gents, I've been there. And then compile that up with the fact that women outnumber men. Women outnumber men. And they're still picking and choosing. Dirtbags. So, basically what it is women have women can pick and choose all they want. Well, men have to basically deal with the leftover. Well, 80% of the men have to deal with the leftovers. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, share, subscribe. This is Red Pill in the Wind. Signing off.